Okay, so this video is going to be all about everything that's just going on in Volume 11. I am working on this before the extras come out. If anything major is added, I'll add this into the video. Initially, this was just going to be like a list of notes of my thoughts on each of the chapters. And I do have like a general list of notes and whatnot. But I did end up having a lot of like thematic analysis stuff later. So this is gonna kind of be chopped into like two main halves. So yeah, starting with like the basic notes for this stuff. Yeah, like the lower sixth layer is a lot more unknown than even like the top, and a lot less protected than that like top bit that we've seen so far. We'll likely encounter a lot of new creatures and a lot of new dangers. I don't think this arc is going to be as safe as the last arc was, or at least as safe as the arc was for like the majority of it. I don't have a whole lot to say about Donnie or whatever his name is. But he definitely interests me a lot. He seems like he's another White Whistle, just based on like kind of how his design is. The very black, mysterious kind of design. And the one notable thing is the keyhole symbol that is on his face and also on his actual whistle seems to represent depth on like the map of the abyss. And this is like one of two important symbols to remember in this volume. This one's just kind of neat. Sakushi likes keyhole symbols. He's done it in a lot of like other places. So I don't know if there's going to be a whole lot of significance to it, but it is something to keep in mind. The Delver whistle like dream connection thing is just interesting. It's just kind of cool. I wonder if this is like a normal white whistle thing or if this is like exclusive to Riko because like she is super connected to like souls and whatnot and could communicate with MIDI. I don't know. Maybe we'll see in the future. If we do see this with other white whistles, though, that could be a really interesting way to, like, expand on the characters of the whistles themselves. Because, like, ever since Bondrewd introduced, like, the white whistles are, like, actually people, at least I've been interested in seeing, like, who these people are and, like, what kind of connection they had to the white whistles that they're, or to the white whistle delvers that they're connected with. And also like in terms of this dream connection scene, I do like seeing more of like a mature and considerate Riko. Seeing more of like Riko's character development has been interesting, especially just like how far she's come, because a lot of people, like especially with like season 1 Riko, just kind of say like, oh, she's just like annoying, but like with Dawn of the Deep Soul and all of like where the manga is right now, I think Riko is definitely becoming one of my favorite characters in this series, just how she's evolved. And also Prushka's new redesign, I really love that Sakushi went with this, like the Delver variation on her design now that she's like on an adventure with the group. It's just sweet. And we also get a bit more explicit not really explicit, but we get some confirmation that like the curse does affect more than people. It affects creatures as well. Sometimes depending on the creature, but like having some of that is definitely interesting. It'd be interesting to see like how some of the abyssal creatures have like developed if they are affected by the curse. Hopefully we see something about that. Curvali is really interesting to me. I like that he does follow like the 6th layer trend of unfulfilled wishes, of like dying before he can see through what he wants. And I assume throughout this whole next arc, we'll probably see more kind of tragic characters. I'm glad that the abyssal swirls are coming back as well. That was a really interesting thing when it was originally brought up by Prushka, and I hope that we get more of an explanation on what like the rules of that is. Also, having a whole group like use their talents is really cool, like in order to disarm the trap. I feel like sometimes, especially in some of these in between chapters, like really distinguishing between the main characters can get a bit fuzzy sometimes. Scenes like this where all of the characters are like strongly utilized is very nice to see. I really like Nishigura's design. It's very rare to see plus size women in anime in general, especially ones that aren't made to be like joke characters or like having them being plus size is like a negative in their design. And like I'm glad that Tsukushi is like branching out more in terms of like design, because he has a lot of like really interesting different designs for like a lot of the male characters, but a lot of the female characters kind of just like fall flat a bit. So seeing more of that is cool. Also, I'm curious to learn what Nishigura actually is. Like a Narahate would be the obvious answer, but we don't really know what type of Narahate. Maybe she's a new type, maybe she's not. Like the large horn and the mismatched eyes are definitely a point of interest. To me, she looks a lot like the cat doctor from Gears Maiden, which is it's not really a manga, it's like a light novel thing. That Tsukushi worked on back before Made in Abyss. And fun fact, Mio, who is the reddish pinkish haired like doctor person that ended up helping Kiwi, she is actually from that as well, so I wouldn't be surprised if like there's some connection there, but it's unknown so far. This arc definitely seems to be interested in showing us like new sides of things that we previously knew. Like there's an unknown white whistle, which up until this point hasn't even been like a possibility that has been brought up. We had heard about illegal cave raiders way back when Nat was talking about it, when originally like seeing off Reg and Rico. Now being able to like actually see some illegal cave raiders and like what they're doing down there and like how that whole thing works is interesting. And also there's like the new unknown beings like Nishigora and like the other Hail Hex members and the weird puppet things they have. A lot of interesting things and a lot of like changing how we see the series, which is nice. And also seeing another like modern whistle design will be cool. Nishigura's Sharumena comment raises a lot of questions. The name is very close to Shirumi and Mene, which are the twins that we saw like way back in the volume extras for like for volume 6. They're the twins who like explain some of the language of Iruburu. Eventually, at the end of their arc, they got abandoned somewhere by Ozen and ended up dying. And I'll expand on this a little more later, but I've heard some theories that they might be one of the puppets, but I'll get to that later. The second important symbol is this weird, honestly, it looks a little suggestive, but the weird, like, sideways oval shape with the dash in the middle of it. Like it's on Reg's belt. It's on Prushka's current form. And in chapter 63, we see it both on Nishigura's stomach and also on the incarnation of the abyss thing that we see a little stylized image of. The only thing I can think of off the top of my head is that it could be like the abyss's symbol for itself, kind of how like the crescent moon is the like the surface's symbol for the abyss. It might be something completely unrelated, but whatever it is, it's definitely important. Also, Tepaste commenting on the party being like super relaxed in the sixth layer, even though there are a bunch of children, is like, I don't know, it's just funny to me. Like, after all this time, she has been like the only adult who has like commented on the fact that kids being down this far and having gone through what they have is just like really weird. Definitely not normal. I absolutely love the setting of this new base. The little like pond and bridge is such like a serene location, especially for it being like at the side of like this giant just drop into the bottom of the abyss. And I really like seeing these like seeing more delvers with warm weather gear. When they got to the fifth layer and when they got to the sixth layer, like the change of clothing that we saw with Rico is just like it adds an extra sense of like, I don't know, physicality kind of. It makes the atmosphere of each of those layers feel really unique. I wonder if layer 7 is gonna have its own like special gear as well. That would be cool. But either way, warm weather gear on more delvers is just interesting because like with the main cast, it's like Rico is the only person who changes her outfit. I mean, like they've had like different costume changes obviously, but like changed her outfit depending on the weather, because like everyone else in the party, Reg, Nanachi, and Fapata all are just like no shirt and big poofy pants gang and refuse to change their outfits like at all. Like Reg, no shirt, big like whatever poofy shorts that he has looking like Sora. Nanachi one-upping Reg by having even poofier pants and again no shirt. And then Fapata, even though she doesn't really wear clothes, she still has fur in the shape of big poofy pants, and of course has no shirt. So if we ever get another party member, I wouldn't be surprised if it's another no shirt, big poofy pants child. So if anyone fits that description, keep an eye on them. Also, it's definitely nice to see Tsukushi sexualizing adults more this time. Very unique for his taste. I hope this continues more because Iruburu was a bit of a last straw for a lot of people from what I've heard, just with like how it treated Rico especially, but also like Fapata as well. Also, okay, we need to have a chat about this. So we have yet again another character that people say is actually Wazakyan, simply because they have a beard and a jawline and high cheekbones. I'm not sure if people just like cannot believe that a character in Maiden Abyss could actually die, or if there's some like grand conspiracy that I'm being kept out of. First, it was Beto, the pink mask like Umbra hand, that showed like 0.5 seconds of chin and beard exclusively in the anime version. And then theories went wild with like, oh, this is actually Wazakyan secretly. And then there's like even that random Umbra hand we saw in Sai's Story 4, who has, of course, a strong jawline, a chin strap, and no mustache. So of course, he must also be Wazakyan, of course. Hell, maybe someone out there has like a concrete theory about like, oh, when Wazakyan died, he actually like shot his body, mist stuff up through the abyss so fast that he like traveled back in time and then ate a whole lot to disguise himself as a new person and then like named himself Habo in order to like get Rico at a young age and infect her with a relic or something that like when she reaches the bottom of the abyss, she'll turn into another like Benedict Cumberbatch wannabe with a chin strap and become like one of the Wazakyan army. But like until someone can give me concrete proof of something like that, I refuse to subscribe to the idea that every single character with a beard, no mustache, and a strong jawline is the same character. Like, Tsukushi goes out of his way to draw every single character with unique facial structures and or unique facial features in order to not have like weird confusion happen. I don't know. Whatever. Okay, on a more positive with design though, I love Strajo's design. There's like a lot going on, but I hope we like get to learn more about it because there's just a lot of mystery simply looking at her. Some people have been a bit sad about like Strajo not having her like mask and cloak and everything, but Ozen didn't always wear her weird turtle hat and coat, and Bondrewd is just Bondrewd. So like Tsukushi didn't just like 180 on her design. We'll see it eventually. We'll see more about that later. Also, something interesting, in Japanese, Strajo uses like casual masculine speech. I'm wondering if this is like a character quirk or if there's more to like Strajo like gender-wise. Outside of like two androgynous characters, which like I knew Bailoff was androgynous, but I didn't know that Tsukushi intended Bailoff to be a, like, not gender neutral, but, like, gender ambiguous character until, like, somewhat recently I read a thing that he said. So, like, having some characters with, like, actual different gender stuff going on could be really cool, because, like, we have a whole one queer character in the form of Waco, and that is it. So, I don't know. If Tsukushi is expanding into making plus-size women, maybe he'll expand in other ways. We'll see. Okay, now, this is like the meaty part of the video. The thematic analysis. First off, I'll give a very basic explanation about how themes are explored in Made in Abyss. Every major arc focuses on two main themes. So there's a primary theme that explores a vague idea related to like the human condition that can also be applied to like the entire story. And also there is a value level, which, as the name implies, focuses on one of the levels of value that were established in the Iruburu arc, and like it dives a lot deeper into it. Each major arc swaps out one of these themes in alternating order. For example, Layer 4 focuses on the primary theme of love and sacrifice, as well as the first value level, She. The Edo Front arc then continues to explore love and sacrifice as its primary theme, but it changes its value level to level 2, which is Ku. And then Iruburu keeps the Ku value level and then switches its primary to value and souls, so on and so forth. And with the release of Chapter 63, there are a lot of hints towards the themes continuing this pattern. The first theme I'll talk about is the value level, since it's the new one in this arc, so there won't be a whole lot besides theorization. I wrote that initially and then ended up writing like 2 whole pages of theory on this, so whatever. We'll see how this goes. In my cycles video, I labeled each arc as being either an A arc or a B arc. So the notable traits of B arcs, which we are now entering a B arc, they're a bit darker, the general atmosphere is more macabre, and the focus is more strongly on the main party, and it has the biggest notable feature, the involvement of one of the White Whistles. That White Whistle then forces Riko, either intentionally or unintentionally, to go beyond the previous value level and onto the one that the arc is focusing on. In layer 2, Ozen forces Riko to begin her path of essentially, like, before this, Riko started at like nothing. Then through Ozen, she ascended to level 1, which is She. This is essentially, it's like the start of her path to like spiritual discipline, essentially. This entailed Riko beginning to develop like actual goals and become much more determined and intentional with what she does. And she also had to deepen her bond with Reg, her mother, and herself in order to go through with this. The tangible benefit of this was that her and Riko became more of like a skilled team and could actually survive in the deeper layers. In Edo Front, Bondrewd and Prushka added themselves to the accumulated wills of the party, representing level 2 Ku. The physical benefits of this was that the party received like a power boost. Reg's was through like physical power, and Riko's was through becoming a white whistle. With the introduction of the next white whistle, Srajo, we also get the next value level, which is Gutsu. Gutsu is defined by Gabarun as the solidification or crystallization of value, and it holds the meaning of purity. It is important to note that value, wishes, and desires can all kind of be used interchangeably sometimes, and they often are throughout the series, and that they are all deeply connected to the soul. The value levels in B arcs tend to be seen both metaphorically and physically, especially through the important characters, and especially the white whistles. The best example of this so far is, unsurprisingly, it's Bondrewd. His value level is Ku, which is defined as the accumulation of value. On his deathbed, Wazikyan describes accumulation as the actions and wills of those who came before you and those who you interact with. And this pushes you forward towards your main goal. Kind of like a snowball is how I like to think about it. Like, as it's rolling down the hill, it picks up more and more wills, essentially. And often throughout the series, love and or sacrifice are required for someone to be added. This isn't necessarily true for everything, or for like everyone, because Wazikyan also says that accumulation can also be seen with those who come before us. For example, with like in Made in Abyss, all of the delving strategies that have been formed are kind of, in a sense, an accumulation, because every delving discovery helps all of the other delvers go further. Bondrewd physically embodies this sense of accumulation by physically inhabiting multiple people, multiple bodies, specifically the bodies of those who believed in him very strongly and gave their bodies up to him in order to help him achieve his goals. And this could also be seen with the cartridges, who are children whose wishes were sacrificed in order to push Bondrewd further. Although Ku isn't perfect, it is level 2 after all. While Bondrewd is very determined in his goals, he is still only at that second level. In order to achieve Gutsu is to take all of your wishes, all of this random stuff that's been accumulated and strengthened over time, and refine it into one pure goal. This difference is very noticeable in Bondrewd. He has too many bodies and way too many wishes. His pursuit of scientific triumph is very vague and unfocused. He wanted to mass produce your worth, then he wanted to get the blessing, then he wanted to see the party off onto their journey, not to mention his various advancements in cave raiding, 2 different altercations with a swarm of insects, his random Iruburu shopping trips, and whatever the hell he did to be a wanted criminal overseas with a bounty on his head. While he's a lot more passionate and a lot more driven than someone like Ozen, he isn't focused enough with his goals to be able to make that last dive. In order to bypass that absolute boundary, someone needs to be so determined towards a singular goal, or at least determined enough in a singular goal that they can push through that. So what does this show us about the upcoming arc? We know that Srajo is going to be singularly focused on her goal, whatever that's going to be, and she'll likely embody this idea of crystallization and solidification of a lot of different things, literally as well. I've heard some theories about multiple souls being combined into one body. First, people said this with Nishigora and her mismatched eyes and extreme personality shifts, and something to note, Tsukushi gives a lot of characters unique speech bubbles to show what character is talking, and Nishigora's basic calm-ish talking bubbles are different between her two different moods, so that does add a little bit of credence to that idea. And then there's the puppets that might be named, or one of them might be named Sharumena. The other one, it's like, what is it? Juzo, I think. And with Sharumena, there's a possibility that this is a fusion of Sharumi and Mene. And lastly, with Srajo and her just insane amount of whistles, this would definitely represent Gutsu in a very bare bones way, but it's too early to tell if this is actually the case, and it's all just speculative so far. Srajo's comment at the end of the volume definitely establishes her value as Gutsu, where she's like, oh, you have a lot of goals for what's going on right now, which seems to show that she thinks that having one singular goal is the way to go. I'm not sure if her goal is going to be solving this 2,000-year cycle issue since she brought it up, or if it's to win against the Shrine Maiden. Maybe those two are connected in some way that we don't know yet, but we'll see. It would make sense if they are connected, because the side stories that are focused on past characters figuring out the 2,000-year cycle ends with like side story 4 that connects that story to the main current arc. There's also a lot of weird random stuff that's said in chapter 33, like Nishigora talking about hardening or quickening time depending on your translation. Or there's like the incarnations of the abyss that might be related to Gutsu in some way as well, but until we learn more, it's too early to say. Yeah, all we really know is that coming out of this arc, the party, especially Riko, is going to have a more singular, concrete goal that they are going to be working towards. I don't think that it's going to be that, like, all of the members of the group are going to have one singular Gutsu. It's possible, but I also think it's like everyone's going to refine their goal down to like one big thing. In terms of the primary theme now, the primary theme of value and souls continues on from the Iruburu arc. It seems like this arc is going to be focusing a lot more heavily on the soul aspect than the last arc did, especially with Nishigora asking the group, like, oh, do you believe in souls? And Faputa responding that she knows that they exist. Also, value may be explored more, through more insight on the character of the Abyss. The incarnation kind of reminded me of like the intermediate stages of Urumyu's transformation into the village. As I explained in my previous video about Faputa, Iruburu is a foil to the Abyss, and through her being a foil, we can understand more things about the Abyss as a character. In this upcoming arc, we might see more development on the Abyss's side through the Shrine Maiden and these incarnations of the Abyss. We learned a lot about how value was used within Iruburu, and I hope that we get to learn more about how like the Abyss interacts with it. Overall, I'm definitely very excited for this next arc. Obviously, I'm excited for the next arc, but like it seems like an interesting change of pace, kind of. Having an arc that takes place in the same layer as the last arc is cool, because now we could get even more exploration of the of this area, because like the first 5 areas are kind of interesting, but like layer 6 and 7 are like the meat of like the interesting locales that the Abyss can bring. And I do like the continuation of kind of like the more fairy tale kind of aesthetic that the 6th layer is bringing. I wonder if this is just like something that's going to continue forward, or if this is just something to differentiate the 6th layer from the other stuff, and we may get a whole different kind of theme or a whole different kind of focus in the next layer. Until then, I will see you later. Hope you have a great day. Goodbye.